I did a video of this shower a couple months ago. I'll post that in the description. And in that video, I forgot what it's called, but in that video, I found the source of the leak of this shower, which I never am able to do unless I tear out all the material first. So the source of the leak happened to be a little tear right to this area of the shower pan liner, which I found downstairs in the garage because you could see up where the drain P-trap was at, and right next to the P-trap there was a tear in the liner, which was very odd to me. Also, he had bypassed the original hole where the drain had come up and had just kind of moved it over, I guess to center it up, but he never patched that hole. So you can see the mortar, well, either watch the video or I'll post a picture of it. Yeah, where that liner was ripped is where I know the problem is on this leaky shower. So besides the fact that he did a lot of sloppy work, besides the fact he had no business building a shower, let alone buying tile, because there's just a lot of sloppy work, which I enumerate on that other video. If you want to go watch it, there's just a lot of sloppy work. But to tear all this out and start from scratch and build a new shower, especially this is marble and all of this mosaic, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars later. So the homeowner is good with keeping the shower, but she wants it functional, and right now it's not. And I didn't notice this until today. I don't think I put it on the first video. This drain cap, well, a couple of things. This has screw holes to hold the cap down. This has no opposing screws. This cap doesn't even fit into the ridge that it's supposed to. So this cap is not even meant for this drain body, which is kind of odd. So I'll probably end up swapping that out with a better, with something better. She still wants the basket because she has a lot of hair and she wants to trap all that hair before it goes into the drain. So I'll look around for a basket, but this is not the drain cover that I would choose anyway. Odie and Sioux Chief make a smaller grate to catch hair to where, you know, you can have a basket, but yeah. Anyway, I digress. The fix for this is to fix that tear that's going on. I don't know that that's the only leak. There might be a tear ripped somewhere else on this liner, but to do this properly would entail taking out this curb material, taking out one tile up all the way around. That's a foam bench, so that would be problematic to get that tile off all the way around, pulling off the doors, all the glass and all this stuff, and basically down to the wood and doing it all over, which I do once or twice a year. A shower pan redo, as it were, and that will guarantee that there'll be no leak. But there's no point in doing all that stuff because he did do this wrong. He didn't set his tile on top of his floor tile. The floor tile came last, which tells me the bottom of this tile is either bottomed out at the mortar, or I didn't measure it. It's either bottomed out at the mortar or it's embedded in the pan. Either which way, I'm going to be waterproofing. I'm going to be red guarding the surface of this. So even if there is a perforation somewhere else that I'm unaware of, once I get all this material out, then it's kind of a moot issue once you red guard. And that's the plan of action. Whether or not it will work, I don't know. I've only maybe twice ever have been able to just take care of a tear where I knew it existed, and I was able to do what I'm proposing to do now, which is get all this mortar and all this tile out of here without touching the wall tile at all, and literally refashioning the drain, patching in, overlapping another, pan liner over what's currently there, tearing out what's bad, and putting a new drain in, and kind of just retro fixing everything after the fact. And then pour a new pan up to about the same level, and we're going in with a hexagon marble tile rather than this shaved rock tile. And so it takes about 3 days to make this happen if it works. It's a little bit experimental because I know that'll fix the problem, but how careful and how diligent I am as far as not causing exterior type of damage to something else, I guess that's the question. but it'll be it's a challenge. And so I always appreciate a challenge. And I'm going to get started on this. Got my little Bosch jackhammer, and I'll be careful with that, getting all this stuff out, and go forward with showing where the damage was. Interesting. Hour and a half later. Took me about 30-45 minutes to knock off all the tile off the surface of that. And then it took me another 30 or 45 minutes to knock off all of that from the surface of that. Highly, highly unusual that this guy put concrete. It's different. I'm gonna put it like that. Put concrete down here, and if you see all these little notches, I think he knocked that with his trowel to make sure when he put this down that it would adhere well, because there's a whole bunch of them knocked out all over the place. But that's concrete. Then this that went up to there, and then the tile on top of that is his mortar bed. So I still got another hour to take this out, hopefully without any issues or problems. A couple of nicks on the bottom of the tile that quite possibly I did, but I don't remember doing it. That's kind of a big one. I definitely didn't do that because I would have seen that. But there was a bunch of stuff pushed up against there during the process, and not fun and not easy to get this out, but it's got to be done. I'm committed. Well, I managed to get a hole. In here into this concrete, and there's a bunch of tape. This is crazy. What? This is black duct tape, where they made some repairs around the drain area. So as I told you before, the rip, if I remember correctly, is underneath. You can see it. It's either here or here, and I'll get to that eventually. But that they had black duct tape on the pan liner really speaks to how inadequate this shower was to begin with. So I have 2 inches, clearly 2 inches of concrete in a shower pan. Very wrong and very difficult to get out. If it's 2 inches there, it's at least 3.5 inches around the perimeter. So I gotta go get the big boy, because that little guy is great so far, but he will not do anything to this. It took me 5 or 10 minutes to just get that hole. So on to the big boy, and I shall return. All right, I'm down to the liner. The big boy Bauer. I bought this at Harbor Freight. I think it was $1.60, maybe $1.40 some years ago. It is a lifesaver. It made quick work of this concrete. Look how thick that concrete is. I knew it would be about 4 inches at the perimeter. Crazy. They do that in other countries. Yeah. Anyway, this is a whole bunch of stupid here. Whole bunch of stupid. I don't have words. Sometimes I don't even have to say anything. Why is there duct tape all the way up the wall? I have no idea. No clue whatsoever. You know, as much stupid as there is going on here, if he had only waterproofed when he got to this point, yeah, chipped off a tile, I gotta replace that one. And the end of the curb, I couldn't get in there easy enough, so I gotta replace that tile as well. If he had only waterproofed the surface of everything, right? That's all he had to do. And all that other material below all the concrete, if he had waterproofed that surface and put the tile on, none of this would be an issue. But it is an issue because, again, in other countries they don't waterproof stuff, but they have a different construction method that has to do with concrete and blocks and a lot of stuff that we don't deal with here in the States. And there's the rip. That is the rip I was looking for. So he just taped over it. Thought that would be fine. And it would have if he had waterproofed everything. But he didn't. So I have to come in here and spend an extraordinary amount of time to try and salvage. I was saying save and salvage at the same time. This whole shower, so that I don't have to get into all the walls. I nicked that one too. I think I can bypass that though. I think I can repair. It's possible, maybe. I don't know. She has extra tile downstairs, so worst case scenario, I have to get into that, which I really didn't want to. But I'm definitely going to replace that one. I don't know what this is. He's got electrical tape wrapping over the drain flange. What the heck? He's got electrical tape all over this thing. I don't know. Duct tape. I don't know. A whole bunch of stupid going on. I'm going to replace this drain too. This is just a hodgepodge of all kinds of stupid going on. And now my hands are sticky. Yeah, so there's a problem, and I'm sure he did it on all 4 of the bolts, not just that one. But yeah, and then you can see inevitably where the tip of my jackhammer was hitting all over there. There's holes in the pan liner, so I'm gonna have to replace this liner. I'm just gonna have to cut out a couple inches off the perimeter and then overlap with another piece of pan liner. I'm not gonna go up the wall, no point. So I'll replace the pan liner, I'll replace the drain, put my new mortar bed down, which is gonna be extra thick to get up to this perimeter, going all the way around. Wow, I'm gonna have to put in like 4 bags in this tiny little shower. Anyway, that's a different battle for tomorrow. I'm about burnt out already. Getting rid of all this stuff. Just horrible job. But this is what I signed up for, so I'm in too deep. Gotta wrap things up. All right, now that I've had some time to give this some thought, this is 3 inches. I don't know how tall that is, 2 inches. So I have 3 inches, 3.5 inches to the very top of where my tile was. Not my tile, I wouldn't do it like that. 3.5 inches. So, oftentimes I think about things overnight, which I've done, to try and figure out the best way to tackle this. And if any of you guys have an opinion on what you think is the best way, put it in the comment section, because I'm dying to hear it. I have 3.5 inches to make up to get to that point where, you know, I'm like at drain height, or my ultimate drain height. And it's a relatively short shower. It's just barely shy of 4 foot. So I don't want to go that high. But the problem is, if I don't take off those tile and redo them, and then have a little 2-inch strip of tile below those tile, which will look stupid, then I'm relegated to what this guy did before. But I don't want to pour 3 inches of mortar, because I just don't think that it's structurally sound to have 3 inches of mortar going down. I mean, you can imagine the mortar would have to go up to there. So I've thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And what I've decided is, I've got a couple bags of concrete, and I really, really, really hate to do this. But I consulted with a friend of mine who's much smarter than I am, and we put our collective heads together and decided that would be the best bet. I can't put anything else in here to take up that slack, take up that difference. I only want a few inches of mortar mix at best around the perimeter. So I still have to take up another 1.5 inches or so. I just don't see another way around it. Can you imagine a mortar bed being that thick? I don't know what else can be done with as thick of a bed that he had with concrete already. There's nothing to make up the difference. This is very odd too. Yesterday I looked at this and I thought, this is a three-piece drain. So why are there bolts going into the floor? Because then yesterday before I left, I'm like, he set a toilet flange in here, because that's how you would set up a toilet flange, with the 4 bolts going to the ground, which is basically what he did. But he actually, when I removed this tape, where'd it go? You can see that little star bit screw. So he used deck screws, 3 of them, to hold this up high enough to where he could get his height, because he didn't have a clue about the barrel taking up the rest of that difference. Very, very odd, very strange. My customer still wants an ability to have a strainer basket like she had before, and I don't like square drains, because I like to do taper cuts, and I can't really do a compound taper cut around a square drain. But in this case, I didn't really have a choice, because she wanted the basket. And of course, the grate on here is smaller than what you saw before anyway. So it's a nice drain. Odie makes that, and has this little hub on it that actually screws into there, which is great. And so I don't have to go all the way down with that hub. I don't have to bottom out, so I can still get a decent amount of height. There's a O-ring. It's very tight fitting on the inside. So I just have to get past that O-ring with that. So I can basically get the same height that he had without going through more than enough height than he had without going through all the issues that he had. Well, I guess I will have to screw it down. But yeah, that's how I'm gonna go forward. I really, really don't want to pour concrete in here. Honestly, I don't. I just don't see another way to take up that difference. I'm just kind of funny about that thick of a mortar pan. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm gonna do. This is such a mess. Where you saw that rip before, Yeah, that's where that hole, the hole that he bypassed, that's where the rip is. And when I said on that video, that's intentional. I think somebody had commented about the weight of the, well, now we know not the mortar, but the concrete, that the weight of the concrete had ripped it, and that's not true. He ripped it in order to put those bolts there, which was totally 100% unnecessary. But knowing what I know now, I'm going to correct that hole. And so once I take this liner out, I got the drain out, by the way. That's a mess too. He's got duct tape all over it. All over it. There's more duct tape in this shower than there are on the ducts of this house, I'm sure. It's a very, very, very strange setup. Anyway, yeah, so going forward, I'm gonna guess about right here. I'll do like a 3-inch overlap. Ooh, it's bottoming out. Why is it bottoming out? Sometimes I get into these badly done showers, and it's almost like Christmas. You know, you get to unwrap stuff and get all the surprises that you would never ever run into otherwise. Got a couple of points going on here. Oop, I'm not gonna go that far. Straighter line. Oh, bottomed out there too. Bottomed out there. What is going on? Look at that. Oh my God. Wow. A little bit of thin set. Wow. Surprises never cease to amaze me. Here's the funny thing. Get rid of that. Here's the funny thing about this that, you know, kind of still I don't get. If somebody has come in to do a drain, right? I mean, this is how you learn. You see how it was done before. Nice clean cut. In fact, there was probably a pre-slope because I don't see any tapering of the edge. So if you're seeing it done prior to with this nice circular hole, then why would you come back and do it like this? And it's not even circular, but whatever. Like, it almost tells you how to do it, and yet you do it wrong. Yeah. Got a little pressed wood rot going on. This is pretty thick. This is 5/8, easily 5/8 pressed wood. So I'm not going to address that. That's kind of innocuous at the end of the day. But yeah, there's my overlap that I'm going to use to overlap my new pan liner. I'm not going to show the whole process. I usually don't on stuff, but I do try and give hints. This is a pan liner made by Odie. And so it goes on kind of like contact cement. Well, exactly like contact cement. So I spread it on liberally all around on what you see. And then, you know, 3 inches in on my new pan liner, spread it around on the other side, let it dry. Once it's dry, then you can attach it. And There's a little manipulation, but you have to remember that, you know, to get a good adhesion, you want to press down on it all the way around. So make sure that you have it squarely exactly where you want it before you press down and all that stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to address some of this boogering of this backer board, put some thin set in there, and that'll rectify that. What a mess. Whew. Okay, a lot has happened since I was last on camera. I cut out a section of plywood. I think it was 20 by 18 section of plywood. Got rid of all that boogering that was going on with the hole and all that stuff. Put that plywood down, formed it in. Yeah, did all that stuff so that I had a very firm, unintrusive area, and then those little cutouts for the pipes. I just put a thin set in there. I thin setted where it needed to be in those corners where it wasn't before. I thin setted in all the discrepancies of the backer board when I tore all that stuff out. Not that it was needed, but I did it anyway. I put in some new backer board on this back area, and obviously I have red guarded it. Why did I red guard it? Well, because that's as high up as I can get without the tile coming off. And so I just feel better that no wicking action will occur once I put in the concrete and the mortar. Obviously, I tore off that one tile because I damaged it pretty bad. A little bit of damage here, but it's right at that area where my tile will end, so I'm not too concerned about that. That area is damaged a little bit more, but where'd it go? I saved a scrap piece from it, and I'm going to fashion that in at the highest point where it was. I think it was right there. Yeah, so that'll get glued back inside of there. And then at this point, I'm right at that edge of where the tile is going to go. So I think the discrepancy of that tile will be able to be filled in with some grout. I'm not too concerned about the aesthetics. Again, the aesthetics being the way they are, all the way everywhere that I've shown on the other video. Aesthetics really don't matter to me at this point, and that's not doing anything structural. I really feel a certain way about putting concrete into a shower pan. It's so counterintuitive, it bugs me. But since I have to do it, and I know I'm going to be putting mortar on top of this, I did not make it nice and smooth. In fact, I gooped it up on purpose because I want that mortar to stick to the surface of this. So, you know, I tapped it down and everything, got it real tight, but then I just kind of went over it with my trowel and kind of pushed up, you know, on all the areas I could. Now is the time to get your drain level, both directions, and get it straight. And now I have about, more or less about 2 inches, because I'm not going to quite go up to the edge. Tile on thin set have to go there. So probably near the bottom or just past the bottom. So about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of mortar. And I'm more comfortable with that. I didn't do the measurement on here, but it's 2 bags of concrete mix. High strength. But I still feel bad about doing that. But it is what it is. So give it some hours to dry up a little bit. I'm not going to dry it completely. In a couple, 2 or 3 hours, I'll come back and put the mortar bed in here, and then the 2 cement products will be cohesive. I waited 3 hours before I put this on. The water from the cement was just about gone, meaning it had leached up to the surface, but it had dissipated most of it. It was still wet. There were still pockets of wetness that I could push down on those pockets. I should have shown it. And it is not anywhere near dry or set up. But that's the beauty of this. is that I wanted the two to mesh and combine. And so this has a lot less water in it than the cement did. And therefore, my take on it is that this will leach up all that excess water into this at the same time it's trying to cure, and probably this surface will become a little more damp than it currently is, which is okay. I hope. No, it's okay. It'll work. I'm convinced of it. I've convinced myself anyway. I don't see any harm or foul, unless a mason is out there that could tell me otherwise. But yeah, I think it's as good a job as I can possibly make it without doing the whole entire pan. And so yeah, good to go. This is the last final time you'll have to get your drain level, because there is a little bit of play. Yeah, I'm as close as I want to be as far as level goes. I don't know, I might play with this side a little bit more. I'm gonna let this set up overnight, put a fan on it on low, and I will come back tomorrow 24 hours later and see what is happening. So this is my second coat of Red Guard, put on pretty thick with a brush, big brush, and then a smaller brush around the perimeter. But I'm not getting close enough up around, so I'm gonna run some caulking after this dries tomorrow. I'll run a bead of caulking. So the caulking around the drain is white. You can see it clearly. I kind of screeded it out with my finger to push it down into the mortar, but as well as up on the edge of the drain, because that's the Achilles heel. If water ever gets into your pan, it's going to be around there. In this case, because he did a lot of stupid things, we have a big gap back there. We have some areas around the bottom here where clearly there's mortar showing and stuff. And then in the corner, there's gaps. In the corner, there's a gap. So I'm going to fill that in too. Think like water. If you think like water, if there's any way for water to get in exterior wise, mitigate that. Take however you do it. It doesn't really matter. Whatever product you use to make that happen. Silicone, Red Guard, Aqua Defense, Hydroban 8+9, Curdy, whatever it takes to stop water, that's the mantra. And then you're good to go. Anyway, I'm out of here for the day. Okay, final result is we have a functional shower where we didn't before. We have a leak-proof shower where we didn't before. And we have arguably a better looking floor, which we didn't have before. You remember the last floor was that. In fact, there was a lot of dips and humps and all that stuff in the grout. So while I was grouting, I just went ahead and filled that in, made it flusher than it was. So I was able to retrofit in another piece of tile on that back. I was able to take care of the crack in the tile, the small crack area, which is innocuous now. It is the best I could do with what I was given and what I was asked to do, because ultimately she just wanted a functional shower. She's not been able to use this shower since it was built because of the leak downstairs in the shower pan liner. And I did a lot of things that were unconventional as far as building up the concrete before I got to the mortar bed. And I don't like that. And I would have much rather have what I normally do is tear out the curb and tear out one tile all the way around, take out all the glass, rebuild the shower pan as if it were done the first time, and do it correctly. But the way this guy fashioned everything, the way that he even put tile without any waterproofing onto the backer board, and there were so many things that he did wrong that it would have been a bigger pain it would have been a huge expense to do everything correctly. So I kind of did things incorrectly the best way that I could and I know for a fact that this is a waterproof shower because I did all the red guard and all that stuff that you already saw. So I have no doubt whatsoever it'll last. Now, whether this marble will stain or not is a whole different issue, because I've had that issue come to me by virtue of people asking me when their marble, not that I did the job, when their marble stained, why did it stain around the drain area? Did we encapsulate water in there? Are we continuing to do that? I've seen marble literally stain in an area where it shouldn't have any moisture, and it's staining over here and then up the wall and stuff like that. So I can't speak to any of that, but that's what she chose, so that's what I had to put in. But it is much better and much more usable. Well, it's actually usable now. I did swap out the drain because it was a crap drain that didn't belong here, and it was done wrong, and she definitely wanted a basket to catch her hair. So the drain that I purchased had a basket and has a nice cover. And of course I did my little cuts around the drain very nicely, thank you very much. And that's it. But my job, what I contracted to do is done, and I don't even know, I've never ran the shower before. I believe this might be one of the first times ever that the shower's been run, except for when she found out she had a leak. But yeah, I'm basically very happy with what I was supposed to do and how it got done. There's no pooling anywhere. Water is draining very nicely. So it's finished. Ooh, there's some hair. How'd that get there? It's finished and I'm out. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.